Damas y caballeros, buenas tardes. Sean bienvenidos a este encuentro, el tradicional almuerzo conferencia de la Cámara Americana de Comercio, titulado Amenazas y oportunidades de seguridad cibernética, la perspectiva de una institución financiera global. Como de costumbre, agradecemos el apoyo que nos brindan nuestros patrocinadores. Estos son CITI, Square Patent Box, Jaina International Terminals, Claro, Barrick Pueblo Viejo, Pasteurizadora Rica, Martí, Inicia, Bepensa Coca-Cola y Humano Seguros. Nuevamente, muchas gracias. Vamos a dar inicio a nuestro encuentro de hoy. Para eso voy a invitar aquí en el podio al vicepresidente ejecutivo de la Cámara Americana de Comercio, el señor William Malamud. Lo recibimos.
Bueno, distinguidos integrantes de la mesa principal, estimados miembros del gobierno y cuerpo diplomático, miembros de la prensa y medios de comunicación, damas y caballeros, apreciados socios, muy buenas tardes y bienvenidos a este almuerzo mensual de la Cámara Americana de Comercio. No hay duda que vivimos en tiempos de cambios sin precedente y para competir exitosamente hay que ser flexible y interconectado a niveles sin precedente. Pero hay otra cara de la moneda de la conectividad, y eso es la vulnerabilidad a ataques cibernéticos. Eso es un reto para todos, individuos, empresas y estados. Dan Coates, el director de Seguridad Nacional de los Estados Unidos, dijo recientemente que la amenaza número 1 enfrentando a los Estados Unidos es ataques cibernéticos, poniendo en riesgo infraestructura crítica desde la red nacional de electricidad hasta los procesos electorales. En esta línea, somos sumamente afortunados de tener con nosotros en el día de hoy una persona excepcionalmente calificada para tratar del tema de ciberseguridad, Lawrence Zelvin, jefe global de ciberseguridad de CITI. Tengo el grato placer de también compartir con ustedes que el honorable Vicente Fox, pasado presidente de México, y la honorable Robin Bernstein, nueva embajadora de los Estados Unidos en el país, ambos han aceptado nuestra invitación para ser oradores en los próximos almuerzos de AMCHAM, pautados para los meses de octubre y noviembre respectivamente. El señor Zelvin tiene que salir a New York para reuniones, tiene que salir a las 2, por eso estamos comenzando un poco temprano. Nuestro programa en el día de hoy es primero presentación de la mesa principal. Tan pronto que la mesa principal está servido, Roberto Herrera, nuestro vicepresidente, va a presentar más formalmente a nuestro orador invitado y después de su presentación el señor Zelvin ha cedido responder a preguntas. Hay formularios en la mesa. Por favor, a escribir en una manera legible para este servidor y también tenemos formularios de evaluación que nos ayudan muchísimo en asegurar la calidad de los eventos que ofrecemos. Entonces, ahora sin más preámbulo, nuestra mesa principal, comenzando a mi mano izquierda con Stephen Puig, miembro de nuestro consejo y vicepresidente ejecutivo, gerente general de Banco BHD León, Gustavo Tavares, pasado presidente inmediato de nuestro consejo y presidente de Marítima Dominicana, Fernando Villanueva, miembro del Consejo de Directores de AmCham y presidente del Grupo Viamar. Y llegó Eduardo Cruz, miembro de nuestro consejo y presidente de Humano. Lawrence Zelvin, jefe global de ciberseguridad de CITI, director de misiones de ciberinteligencia, gestión de incidentes de seguridad, casa avanzada de adversario, análisis de Big Data y ejercicios cibernéticos. Roberto Herrera, vicepresidente del Consejo de Directores y gerente del país, o gerente país de Inter Energy Holdings. Máximo Vidal, pasado presidente de nuestra Cámara y gerente general de CITI. Ramón Ortega, vicepresidente de nuestro consejo y socio líder de impuestos y legal de PricewaterhouseCoopers, y Alejandro Peña de Filló, miembro de nuestro consejo y presidente de Young en Rubicam. Muchísimas gracias y buen provecho.
Y ahora, para presentar a nuestro orador invitado y huésped de honor, vamos a recibir acá arriba al vicepresidente del Consejo Directivo de la Cámara Americana de Comercio, el señor Roberto Herrera. Un aplauso, por favor.
Muy buenas tardes. Excelentísima señora Margarita Cedeño, Vicepresidenta Constitucional de la República y Presidenta en funciones. Distinguido señor Zelvin, Jefe Global de Ciberseguridad de CITI, orador y huésped de honor en el día de hoy. Estimados miembros del Consejo de Directores y pasados presidentes de la Cámara Americana de Comercio. Autoridades, ejecutivos, miembros de la Cámara, representantes diplomáticos, miembros del Círculo Élite, representantes de los medios de comunicación, invitados, amigos y amigas todas. Buenas tardes y bienvenidos a nuestro tradicional almuerzo conferencia AMCHAMDR, correspondiente al mes de septiembre. Un aspecto fundamental de nuestra misión como Cámara Americana de Comercio es la promoción de políticas y prácticas que conduzcan a la inversión privada, tanto extranjera como nacional. Y año tras año, según encuestas independientes del Foro Económico Mundial, el Banco Mundial, el Banco Interamericano de Desarrollo y otros, el desafío más importante para hacer negocios en la República Dominicana ha sido la corrupción. Sin duda, un poder judicial fuerte e independiente es un elemento crítico para combatir eficazmente el látigo de la corrupción. Entendemos, pues, que es oportuna la ocasión de cara a la convocatoria que hiciera el honorable presidente de la República en su condición de presidente del Consejo Nacional de la Magistratura, con el fin de proceder con la designación y evaluación de jueces de las altas cortes, hacer un llamado no solo a los miembros de este órgano constitucional, sino también a la sociedad en general, sobre la importancia que tiene para nuestro país que este proceso de reflexión y posterior selección sea realizado de manera objetiva, crítica y bajo estándares y criterios previamente definidos. Debemos hacer conciencia como país de que el próximo 2 de octubre inicia no solo el trabajo para evaluar y designar jueces, sino también las conversaciones que afectan de manera directa la preservación y consolidación del régimen democrático y el Estado de Derecho. Corresponde a todos la labor de vigilancia de un proceso tan significativo como este, y depende de nosotros como sociedad que sea positivo, participativo, transparente y sobre todo riguroso, basado en perfiles y criterios adecuados de selección. Si bien la corrupción es tan antigua como la civilización, existe una nueva amenaza que tiene profundas implicaciones para la inversión privada, no solo para la República Dominicana, sino también para todo el mundo, y es lo que nos reúne la tarde de hoy, la ciberseguridad. La ciberseguridad es la protección de los sistemas conectados a Internet, incluidos equipos, programas y datos contra ataques cibernéticos. Con la adopción acelerada de sistemas conectados a la red, el mundo está experimentando una tasa de innovación y cambio tecnológico sin precedentes. Industrias completas y el tejido mismo de la sociedad se están transformando. Sin embargo, a medida que nos volvemos más interconectados e interdependientes, también estamos cada vez más vulnerables a los ciberataques. La vulnerabilidad crea incertidumbre y la incertidumbre encoge a la inversión privada, por lo que nos corresponde a todos tomar medidas activas, tanto a nivel nacional como empresarial, para garantizar la ciberseguridad. El encuentro que nos reúne esta tarde es el resultado de una visita que realizó la delegación de la Semana Dominicana en el año 2017, gracias a la intercesión del señor Máximo Vidal, Country Manager para CITI en República Dominicana, al Cybersecurity Fusion Center, un organismo encargado de prevenir, detectar, responder y proteger a esa multinacional de ataques cibernéticos. Allá, el señor Zelvin, nuestro orador invitado, nos recibió para discutir iniciativas y perspectivas sobre la seguridad, un tema que también se encuentra activamente en la agenda del Comité TIC de esta Cámara. Y les confieso que tuve el privilegio de asistir a la visita, que yo no sé si hoy saldremos o preocupados o asustados, que lo que sí ciertamente es que yo confío que despertemos ante esta amenaza tan seria, que no solo afectará al sector empresarial, sino me alegra ver a los amigos del Estado Dominicano, encabezada por doña Margarita en la tarde de hoy, porque también el Estado es muy vulnerable a medida que ha comenzado a entrar en la vida digital a estos posibles ciberataques. El señor Zelvin es jefe global de ciberseguridad de CITI y es la persona responsable de coordinar las respuestas nacionales a incidentes cibernéticos y de comunicaciones del Departamento de Seguridad Nacional de los Estados Unidos. Hoy día ocupa la posición de más alto nivel en protección de amenazas cibernéticas en CITI, en la que supervisa diferentes equipos globales en misiones de ciberinteligencia, gestión de incidentes de seguridad, caza avanzada del adversario, análisis de macrodatos y ejercicios cibernéticos. Es también pasado director del Centro Nacional de Integración de Ciberseguridad y Comunicaciones del Departamento de Seguridad Nacional de los Estados Unidos. Capitán de Marina estadounidense y aviador naval retirado con 26 años de servicio activo. Ha prestado servicios alrededor del mundo con asignaciones desde el Pentágono y la Casa Blanca, formando parte de equipos de ayuda en respuesta a crisis importantes como la del 11 de septiembre del 2001, el huracán Katrina y el terremoto, tsunami y desastre nuclear ocurrido en Japón. Damas y caballeros, es un honor dejarlos con nuestro orador invitado y huésped de honor, el jefe global de ciberseguridad de CITI, el señor Zelvin.
Madam Vice President, ladies and gentlemen, buenas tardes. It is this time I wish I had been a better student when I was learning Spanish in high school, so my apologies. But I would like to first thank the Chamber for inviting me to speak, in particular David Fernandez and also Maria Waleska. You have been great friends to CITI, and I appreciate you not only coming to New Jersey to see us, but also for your kind invitation to have us come to the Dominican Republic. Madam Vice President, your people have been incredibly welcoming and very warm. I traveled the world, and I was telling Maximo, our senior city banker here, how incredibly impressed I have been, not only in the generosity of time, but also in the conversation. Cybersecurity is very much on the minds of your financial sector here in the country, and I know they can help you as you look forward as a nation to figuring out the solutions. So, ladies and gentlemen, what I thought I would do is perhaps give you a sense of this cybersecurity thing. And it is difficult when you talk about cyber because you don't know in the room who has what experiences. For example, there are people that when I talk about hexadecimals and MD5 hashes, they get all excited. Then there are other people when I talk about DNS and BGP, they know what I'm saying. But I think around the world, 99% of people, regardless of language, go, I have no idea what he said and I hope he stops. So it is okay with you, we will not have a technical discussion. We will have a more practical discussion. I will talk to you as business leaders, not as cybersecurity professionals. And as such, what I would like to offer to you is that this cybersecurity problem, I would encourage you to think of as risk. Right? In any organization, in any company, risk is something you must manage. And I will tell you, cyber is just another one of those risks. But it's an important distinction, which I will get to. So, you can barely pick up a newspaper, you can barely turn on the news and not hear about a major cyber attack. And I want to give you a framework as a leader to think about when you hear about these attacks, what should come to mind first? So when there is a cyber event, there are three causes for that event. The first is the technology may break. It may be broken, right? These machines break, and that could be the simple answer. The other answer is it could be what we call a misconfiguration. So you may notice that every now and again, your device will tell you that it wants you to download a patch, a new software. This is important to do because companies are constantly updating their security. So when you hit that button, sometimes the application, your phone, your computer doesn't work all that well because the ones and zeros didn't sync. So it's broken, but you can fix it by reloading. So you have hard break, you have misconfiguration, and then what I'm going to talk about is malicious activity and attack. And that's where you now have a greater challenge because the machine is now being attacked. You are being attacked, and there's a reason behind that attack. And one of the things I also want you to think about is when you have a cyber challenge, right? It is not computers that are attacking you, rather it is people. The computers are the tool, but it is the people behind that are trying to do something. And these people, we typically categorize into 5 groups. The first is nations, right? So you have countries like Russia and China, and if you live in Russia and China, the United States, right? Iran, North Korea. And each country will have different motives for doing cyber events. Some of it is traditional espionage. You want to know another country's military capability. You want to understand their politics. But in some countries, they are using their national assets, their army, their intelligence organizations, to actually do criminal activities, to steal money. In some cases, it is because the United Nations has instituted sanctions and they are having an impact. So a country may turn to crime to generate revenue. There are criminals who are also out there. And I think from a business perspective, they are your greatest risk. But these folks are trying to earn money the old-fashioned way. They want to steal it. And the wonderful thing about cyber is it gives them a whole new capability that they never once had. I want you to imagine, just a few years ago, before there were computers, how difficult it was to rob a bank. It was actually very inconvenient. You had to get a horse, you had to get a car, you had to ride to a bank, you had to have a weapon, you had to scare people, you had to have them put money in a bag, you then had to leave, and then hopefully you drove home and the police wouldn't catch you or shoot you. It was a very dangerous and a very inconvenient way to commit a crime. But thankfully for the internet, you can rob 100 or more banks in a morning. You can do it across any country border, in any region, and you never have to leave your mother's basement. It is so much better now to be a cyber criminal. And you can also attack banks and try to steal upwards of $1 billion at one time. This is not a made-up number. It describes an attack a few years ago against the Bank of Bangladesh, committed over a financial system called SWIFT. Terrorists are also getting into cyber. They are using it predominantly to inspire the faithful and recruit new people. But I regret there may be a time when they too may look to other objectives around cyber. Hacktivists are the 4th category. Hacktivists will use the internet for political purposes, environmentalism, rights that they think that have been suppressed. Maybe they are anti-capitalism. They may try and take over your website to embarrass you. They may use social media to, again, make you look incompetent in your security areas. The 5th and final group are insiders. And these are some of the most challenging cyber attackers because these are people within your organization that you have trusted with the operating of your systems and with the security of your companies and organizations. But you would say, who would ever want to attack such a beautiful place as the Dominican Republic? Why would anyone want to bother us right? We have hurt no one. People come here to have fun. Well, this is all true, but you all should understand that from a criminal element, Dominican Republic is one of, if not, the richest countries in the Caribbean and also in Latin America. So if I am a criminal looking to steal money, you are a wonderful target. And you only have to look at organizations like Equifax, where upwards of 140 million, potentially 155 million of American citizens' personal identifiable information was stolen. Approximately 44% of my entire country's personal identifiable information has been stolen. You look at, recently British Airways had an attack against their credit card systems, where people are now looking at British Airways and wondering, why were they slow? Why didn't they tell me? Why didn't they not have greater protections? And I think the other challenge from cyber when you are a directed attack is in many cases the actor may be using vulnerabilities in the operating systems and in the software you use. So you as a company are being victimized only because you bought a product that was not as secure, but unfortunately your government and your partners and your customers will not judge that product you bought as being flawed, but rather your organization is being flawed because you are the face of the problem. So those are targeted attacks. Let me talk about untargeted attacks for a few moments. Last year was a rather unique year in cyber, and we say that just about every year. But I want to quickly go over two events. One was called WannaCry. And in this attack, where the United States government has attributed to North Korea, over 150 countries, 300,000 computers were infected with what we call a ransomware. And the computers were locked up. And the demand was you had to pay around $300 US in Bitcoin, and if you did not pay in a few days, it became $600 US. And this virus spread, and the only thing the victims had in common is that they had old operating systems from Microsoft. The United Kingdom healthcare service was completely knocked offline. Tens of thousands of appointments canceled, thousands of surgeries were unable to be done because computers were locked up. There was also an attack a month later called Petya non-Petya. In that case, it was an attack upon Ukraine using a regulatory required software, but companies like Merck, the pharmaceutical company, had upwards of hundreds of millions in dollars of damages, and a company called Maersk, a major shipping line, almost was taken out of business. And we here may have only been able to stay in business because they had computer servers in Africa that were offline. But over 70 of the ports Merck works out of was tied up. They could not track their ships. They could not track their cargo. And some open source press reports say that they may lose upwards of $1 billion US when all is said and done. So when you look at these cyber attacks, what should you be thinking of? What should you do? So let me cover a few things, and then my colleague Andrew and I are going to ruin your perfectly good lunch. We're going to give you a demonstration of what it is like to be a hacker and what it is like to be hacked. But before I do that, and before I scare you, let me give you a few things I think you should think about as a solution to this cyber problem, or at least a way ahead. First, I think when you think about how you address cyber, you should look at the way you address natural disasters such as hurricanes and earthquakes. When you have these events, you come together as a nation. You come together as one. Energy, transportation, finance, government. Everyone is focused. Everyone is sharing information. It is to everyone's advantage to work together. I will tell you that, in my opinion, that sense of focus, purpose, and energy needs to occur now. And I do not pretend to lecture you on what you should do and what you should not do, but I will give you as an example what we are doing in my country in the financial sector with great success. All of the large multinational banks in the United States have a call every single day. It lasts for nothing more than 15 minutes, where we share the attacks we are seeing that day and the information or intelligence that we have gathered as individual companies. We share this together because we are all being attacked in similar ways. What is happening at Citi is happening at Bank of America, which is happening at JP Morgan Chase. So we have these discussions, and we learn more from each other than we ever could from a government intelligence organization or a paid vendor, because we are the same and the attackers are coming at us in similar ways. We have tried in a number of other cities around the world to create a similar dialogue with not much success. I hope when I come back to the Dominican Republic that this may be one of the things you have looked at and to see if it works for you. The other thing I would encourage is public and private partnership. Think of it this way, and this goes back to the cooperation. Banks cannot work without energy, energy cannot work without transportation, and government cannot provide for the public health and safety without the private sector. So I would encourage you to look at critical vulnerabilities, and if they were to go down, and if they were going to be attacked, how will you share that information? How will you work together to come back? The last recommendation I will make before I scare you is exercises. It is important to look at it not only within your individual industry sectors, but also across sectors, and potentially with the leadership of your government, right? Only government, I believe, has the focus and the potential of bringing all these different groups together as one. We at Citi, Maximo, can help organize the financial sector. Others can look at energy, others can look at the other sectors, but at the end of the day, bringing it all together will be a national challenge. So, what I would like to do at this time, and if I could ask Madam Vice President and the others at the table, you may want to shift and maybe sit in these other seats so you can see the screens. So I will give a moment. Oh, you have? Madam Vice President, please sit. Thank you. So what I would like to do right now is walk you through what it is like to be a hacker and what it is like to be hacked. All right, everything I'm about to show you is real. The only thing that is different is that we are using a scenario. In our scenario, we are pretending that we are ABC hedge fund and we are headquartered in Latin America, and we're considering investing in an Eastern European oil group. However, there is an Eastern European oil bank that's also looking to invest in the same group that we are. Unfortunately, some folks at this investment bank have hired hackers to steal information about our pending business deal. The malicious software we'll use is a backdoor. It has been around since 2008. We will remotely access the computers at my company. We will turn on the webcam so they can see us, and they will also look at our confidential information. Note, I have said this is from 2008, so this is like your grandfather's Oldsmobile. This is not the new Mercedes that many of you may be driving. I'm also going to use ransomware that is going to lock up the computers. It's been around since 2014. We're going to encrypt the files and lock the devices. Now, this is important for two reasons. First is because I may make a few more dollars as a hacker, right? But more importantly, when you bring your computers to a competent cybersecurity professional, when you have ransomware on it, we will wipe it completely and we will restore it from backup. But when we do this, all evidence of what was stolen and by who gets wiped away. So for the hacker, it is the perfect getaway, right? Put ransomware on, they will wipe the computer, no one will know what I did, no one will know who I am. It is beautiful. Next, we're going to go after the cell phone with a remote access Trojan. It's been around since 2012. We will read every single one of your texts. We will listen to your calls. We will listen to your conversations. We will operate your camera, and we will find you on a map and trace you. So you will find this to be a little concerning. Next. My threat actor, stand up please. His name is Boris K. He is a criminal hacker, as you can clearly see. He specializes in social engineering and malware, and like all criminal hackers, he lives in Brooklyn, New York. I am the victim. My name is Pat Warren. I'm a general partner in this scenario for ABC Hedge Fund, and I live here, I wish, in Santo Domingo. Next, please. So our hacker will now tell you how he found me.
All right, so as Larry said, I'm a character named Boris K, and I've been hired by this Eastern European investment bank to get some information on the ABC group. So I wasn't really given too much information to go on, so I'm going to start with a simple Google search here for Pat Warren at the ABC Hedge Fund. And there's going to be a bunch of results that come back here. First thing that jumps out to me is it looks like Pat Warren's personal email address is on one. That's very important for sending a spear phishing email. I can also see that Pat Warren's Facebook has come up, and he has some information publicly available on there. I can see where he went to school, some of the charitable causes that he's involved with, as well as a family member, his son, Thomas Warren. And looking back on the page here, I see Thomas Warren's Instagram is shown. And it says, support my dad, Pat Warren. So if we look at Thomas's Instagram, it looks like he doesn't have very good privacy settings on there. I can actually see his most recent post. Looks like Thomas and his friend Caitlin are in the Bahamas as of 2 hours ago. So with this information, I think I can draft up a very successful spear phishing email to send over to Pat. I have his personal email address. I have information on his family. And I know where his son is and who his son is with. So this is the email that I've drafted up. I've spoofed up a fake Thomas Warren email account. I have the Pat Warren email account, and I'm going to say, hi, Mom and Dad. I've lost my phone and wallet in the Bahamas, where I know he is. Could you please wire $2,000 to my friend Caitlin's account? We're using her phone and bank card. So this is good for me for two reasons. One, I'm going to hope that Pat will wire the $2,000 to that account, which is actually mine, and I'll maybe get an extra $2,000. But more importantly, for what I was hired for, I've also attached an image file there. Well, that is the image that Thomas posted to his Instagram account. I've put malware on it, and so if he opens that email, it'll download malware onto his machine.
Okay, so you can see he has Googled me. He has gone to my Facebook. He's found me. He has found my son. He's found my son's Facebook account, and he knows where he is. So now he's going to pretend to be my son and email me. So if you look at the computer, hopefully you can see, I'm looking, now you're seeing what I'm seeing on my screen, and I go, oh, look, my son. This is great. Oh no, he's lost his wallet and he needs $2,000. Oh my gosh, I must get to him. Oh look, he sent an attachment. So I'm going to call my banker. Maximo, I need you to send $2,000 to my son immediately. And whatever else he needs, give it to him. So, but let me see the picture. Oh, that's a great picture. I'm glad they're having fun. So, just by opening that picture, just by clicking on a link, I have now installed malicious software on my computer, and now you will see what the hacker is able to see on my computer just because I opened the picture.
Right, so back on my end, this is what pops up with my program here. So the first thing that I want to do is to make sure that I have the right person. I've seen Pat's Facebook profile. I know what he looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on his webcam and see what he looks like.
So, not too long ago, there was a high school student in Texas who, like many young people, had her laptop in her room. And a classmate installed malware similar to this on her computer and then took pictures and video of her dressing and undressing. He then decided to email her with these pictures and said, if you pay me money, I will not put this on the internet. Thankfully, the young lady called the parents, who called the police, and the young man was arrested. If you look at my computer and that of my family's, you will see that we have a piece of tape or we have a device that will turn off the cameras for us, because we do not want people videoing us without our permission. You must also be careful with some of the new TVs. They have cameras in them, so as you're watching TV, people may be watching you on TV. Okay, Andrew?
All right, so now that I know that I have Pat, it looks like the same as his Facebook profile. The next thing that I want to do is to remotely take control of his laptop and see what I can find in there. So yeah, it looks like he had that email open. He'd opened up the picture. That's how I got in. But if I head back into his Outlook, I'm betting there's some information in there. Head over to Pat's calendar. It looks like right now he's on a call regarding the Eastern European Oil Group. It's a sync call with his partner. I see he's included his cell phone number in there. So I open that up. It says quick sync to review the terms of purchase for the Eastern European Oil Group shares. I'm in the Dominican Republic. Please call my cell phone with the cell phone listed.
So what he has done is he is on my computer right now. He is going through all my emails. He is seeing the files that have the information, but he also now has the phone number for the meeting I'm about to have about this bid. So go ahead and open it, and I have no idea. So right now,
so I also see a Word document there that might have some more information. I can see it's from the ABC hedge fund. So this is internal. I can also see Eastern European Oil Group there. But if I look around this document a little bit more, I'm going to come across the ABC hedge fund's position on the Eastern European Oil Group there.
He has our bid. Now he can go back to the people who paid him. They can underbid us, and we will lose the business.
All right, so this is a great start for me, but again, this is just a draft, so I want to find out when they might be doing it. So I'm going to take that phone number and try to infect his cell phone as well. But before I do that, there's just one or two more things that I want to do on his laptop. So the first thing that I'm going to do is to run a probe and see what other devices he might be mapped to on his network. So looking at this, I can see that it looks like Pat has a cell phone, a printer, a couple of iPads.
Go to the front door, please.
So if I go to the front door,
So if I have a camera on my front door, if I have security cameras around my house, he now can see them. If you have a very good criminal actor, they could potentially take a screenshot, make it look like there's nobody there as somebody else comes in, right? A great way to mask. Please take me to my child's den.
so if I go back through here and go over to that Playroom Smart TV and see what that looks like.
Now we have cameras, so as the children are playing, we can watch them. But since they are connected to my Wi-Fi, he is now watching my children, right? So this is the Internet of Things, ladies and gentlemen, right? As devices get more connected, you now have more vulnerabilities of where people can get into your house and invade your privacy.
Okay, then I've pretty much done everything that I can do on Pat's computer. But there's just one more thing that I want to do, and that'll be to install ransomware.
So ladies and gentlemen, welcome to WannaCry. You can see that if I go to my computer and open any files, I will be unable. It is completely locked. He wants me to pay. I will tell you that you should never pay. Two reasons. Reason one, if you are marked as somebody who pays, they will put more ransomware on your equipment and they will charge you more next time. Second reason, you do not know who you are paying. So if it is found out, at least in my country, that you have funded Hezbollah, Hamas, ISIS, you are now funding a terrorist organization, and you could face criminal prosecution in the United States and potential other countries.
Yeah, and ransomware is a great thing for me because, as Larry said at the start, he's either going to pay me a couple $100s in Bitcoin. That's great for me. I'm probably still not going to release his files. But if he doesn't pay me, and even if he does, he's still going to have to take his computer in, and they're going to wipe it entirely clean and restore it from backup. And in that case, all forensic evidence of everything that I did is now gone.
So when I bring my computer to the city, ABC folks, and say, hey, you need to fix this, they will wipe it clean. All evidence of he was there and what they stole, it is all gone.
All right,
So he gets away scot-free, and he lives in Brooklyn happily.
So at this point, I've done everything that I can do to Pat's computer, but again, I want to get on that call that he was having, and I have his cell phone number. So I've drafted up a text message that I'm going to send over to his phone and hope to infect that as well.
Oh, look, my dental visit. I must click on the link to let the dentist know that, yes, I do want to do the appointment. How does he know I have a dental appointment? He looked at my calendar. He came up with a link. So now I click and go, yes, dentist, I will be there. Now when I click on that link, you will see the access he has to my phone.
So when he clicks on that, this is what pops up on my end. With this piece of software, there's a couple different things that I want to do. The first thing that I'm going to do is to get into Pat's contacts. I can now see every single contact that he has in his phone. I can also try to infect these people as well by sending them text messages that will appear to come from a trusted contact in Pat
So
Warren.
he's using my phone to go out to my friends, send them texts with links, and hopefully they click. So now he can see their phones, just as he can see mine. Next.
I can also get into his text messages and see every text he has on his phone.
So every text message I have ever written, he now has access to and can read. Some of you look nervous. We will have questions in a moment.
So I knew that he was going to be on that call with his partner. So I can now listen to that call. I can hear everything they say. I can record it. I can get a transcript of it and send all that information back to the people that hired me.
So he's listening to every message. Now look, he has a life. He has hobbies. He does not want to listen to all my phone calls. So what he will do is he will record it. And then when he is ready, he will have it transcribed using a computer program and then give that all to the people who paid him.
I can also take a picture with his cell phone, so it looks like out the ceiling.
So I'm sorry I was pacing up. But anyway, you can see it is the lights here. But normally I would be like this, so as I go around, he can see who I'm talking to and where I may be. Last one?
And the last thing I'm going to do is to geolocate Pat and find out where he is.
So everywhere we go, he is now tracking me and following me. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've enjoyed your lunch. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. Now, I do have one last thing before we get to questions and answers, and it is a quick public safety announcement. Please do not try this at home. It is illegal in just about every country. And Madam Vice President, I am sure you will be talking to your legal folks here soon. But please, do not use this against your spouse. Do not use it against your children. Do not use it against your partner or your colleagues. I know they're jerks, but do not use this to show them. And if, for some reason, the police ask you, where did you learn at this? Please tell them you saw it at a demonstration at Banco Popular. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. I would welcome your questions.
For the Q&A. Well, how was that? Pretty interesting, huh? I never look at my phone the same again. Well, Larry, you've certainly given us a lot to think about. First question here. Does the attacker necessarily have more advanced technology than the victim?
So the answer is, it depends on who the victim is, right? So I think as you look at global financial institutions, we have heavily invested in security, right? We still see thousands of attacks each and every day. We have been very successful in defending ourselves, but I will tell you, we have to be good every time. They only have to be good once. And if they are good, everyone will look at us and go, you people are stupid, you have failed, we are firing you, all right? But when you have a large organization, it is a lot to protect. So you have to continually work on this, and you have to have not only really good technology, but also really smart people. When you have good technology and good people, I think you have the greatest of security. However, it is a large financial investment to counter with this problem, and not everyone can afford. So there are companies out there, of which none I will endorse, that will help you with your security needs, and they can help talk you through solutions. And what I would offer is hopefully you see a doctor every year, right? Hopefully you see a dentist every year. I would tell you, as corporate leaders, as government leaders, you may want to get advice from the companies that provide consulting services as to what is happening and how you can evaluate your security capabilities and get a better understanding of the threats, because they are constantly changing.
The next question is related. As Roberto alluded, we went to the CITI Cyber Fusion Center 2 years ago. Very impressive, and came back with the thinking, we should have one here. But obviously, as you say, the economies of scale, what CITI can do, a global company versus the financial sector here in the Dominican Republic. Are there examples in other, emerging markets or smaller countries where the financial sector has shared cybersecurity infrastructure, or is that just a no-go? There's too much competitive information in there that...
No, so as you look, and obviously I'm somewhat biased because I work at a bank, but even when I was in government and I looked across critical infrastructure, finance is spending more on this problem than any other sector. The only one that is a close second would be energy, and then it just falls off a cliff. So we in the financial sector, I think, have a unique capability called the Financial Services Information Sharing and Analysis Center. There are 6,000 to 7,000 companies, all from the financial sector globally, that share information on a 24/7, 365 basis. And we are doing this because, especially in finance, if one company is having a bad day, many companies will have a bad day, because we are so independent on each other. We are fiercely competitive on earning money, but when it comes to security, we are, I think, one of the hallmarks of cooperation and fusion of understanding, analysis, and also in response. And I will tell you, I don't think that it is only finance that can do this. I think all sectors can do it, and you can do it nationally as well. What it takes is leadership, vision, and then people cooperating with one another, which is often the hardest part.
In your experience, what is the role of a CERT, a Computer Emergency Response Team? And do you have any recommendations to the Dominican government about what should be the priorities or objectives of a CERT?
So I had the honor of leading the United States CERT for almost 3 years. And I also had the Industrial Control Systems CERT in the United States and a telecommunications group. And I had the privilege of working with about 160 CERTs around the world. And we would meet on an annual basis to share best practices and understanding. So when you look at CERTs globally, just about everyone is using it as a national means to bring multiple groups together and share information. So it is not focused on law enforcement, it is not focused on defense or anything. It is rather how do you tie public sector and private sector solely in defense of computer systems. We do not ask for companies, nor do we ever want to regulate or legislate that they report, but rather voluntary sharing. But the good news is that government, from a CERT perspective, is in a unique position. So if a company like CITI shares information that is not only valuable to the financial sector, which we can disseminate to ourselves, but can also get out to the rest of the industry and also to the general population. We have no way of doing that holistically, so the CERTs provide that capability. And it's less about creating new information and more about making sure the right information gets to the right people in the right time so they can make the right decisions across a wide variety of organizations. And we had a wonderful meeting in the Presidential Palace for about 2.5 hours yesterday where we shared thoughts, and I'd welcome the opportunity as you think further to help advise or counsel as you see fit.
And in terms of a legal framework or regulatory, what's the current status of cybersecurity legislation, regulation in the United States? Are there any best practices, lessons learned, or things to avoid in how it was done in the U.S. versus here, or any third countries that you could hold up as an example of an effective framework?
Yeah, I will tell you all countries are struggling with this problem, to include the United States. There is no one country that I can point to and said, my gosh, they really, they are 100% there. But I will tell you, I think, and I travel the world, I will be in Asia and the Middle East next week and the week following, so I get to see a lot of the world. But I think Europe is really leading the way as far as cybersecurity. And I say that because, especially in finance, Europe is not looking on how do we share information and how do we better defend, but rather what do we do when we fail. So they are really taking a hard look, and the European Central Bank in particular, I must applaud publicly, is really looking at when our systems fail, when we have a bad day, what are we going to do, how fast can we do it, and how long can we maintain? Because without the European Central Bank, I think 19 European economies are going to be massively impacted. I think if you want to look at a more radical idea, and one that I really enjoy, but I don't necessarily do at my company, is if you look at Amazon, they have created something called a chaos monkey. And you can go, he's making this up, but no, Google it. And what at Amazon, they literally take computers that are in production on their live environment and they fail them to see if the fail systems work. Right? So they go to an absolute extreme of failing their systems to make sure the backups work, because they know that if they cannot deliver services and products to their clients, they will lose faith and they will go to a competitor, or they may go to a store or a mall.
Okay, if there's anyone else who has questions, please fill them out and raise your hand so we can get them up here. We still have a good 10 to 15 minutes we can use before he needs to jet off. The next question is, does the use of cloud storage for files affect your ability to recover files if you've been successfully hacked?
So the answer is yes, no, and maybe.
Elaborate.
And I am not a lawyer. What I would say is there are many cloud providers out there. You must have the conversation, if you are going to a cloud provider, to truly understand their ability to detect, to monitor, to respond, and recover from a cyber attack. You do not want to be in the position to find that your data or the services they are providing have gone down, and then not know who to call or not have them answer or not give them a solution that you think you deserve. Have these conversations before the bad day. Make sure you are comfortable with what they are doing and how they are doing. But it would be truly tragic if there was a major event and your expectations were not only not met, but were horribly, were beyond comprehension in the worst way.
Any more questions? Any more questions? And so it's the last one. Person wants to know your personal strategy for your own home security.
It is a very
Just want to share it with a small, intimate group.
My strategy is easy. I have a very paranoid wife. Yeah, she does security at our house. I have no anything I would do. She does much more detail than I. So, but look, a healthy sense of paranoia. But I will tell you, in my life, I have worked terrorism. I have worked counter narcotics. I have worked weapons of mass destruction. I tell you only in this is that as I look at these things and I look at how people react, you have to live a life. You have to live a good life. So don't live in fear, but in the same token, be aware, understand the threats, manage risk, right? And I also, and I've told the Vice President, that my biggest concern is that the most impacted victims in cyber are children and the elderly. So if you have elderly people that you care for, if you have young children, you must, with the greatest respect, sit down with them and tell them about what you saw from our demonstration. I will also express a bias. If you're looking for what do I tell my children, how do I have a conversation with my elderly parent? At the United States CERTs, there is a website called TIPS. So if you Google US CERT TIPS, you will find a webpage with about 40 different information products. Some of it is written in very technical geek, but some of it you can read to your children and have the conversation. So I offer that if you're looking to have the right conversation as a guide as you talk to them.
Well, with that, we'll conclude with the questions and answers. I want to thank Larry Zelvin very much for sharing, for scaring us and sharing with us. También gracias a Máximo Vidal y Citibank para ofrecer ese orador tan interesante. Y si hay interés por parte de ustedes en aprender, conocer más de este tema, tenemos un comité de tecnologías de información y comunicación muy activo, que está una de las áreas prioritarias en ese comité es precisamente el tema de ciberseguridad. Entonces, con esto, muchísimas gracias a todos y muy buenas tardes.